Hey, Uwe, how are you?
I'm very good, Harold. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Good to connect with you. It's been a while,
It has. We've been kind of in limbo and out of the spotlight a little.
but we're coming out of limbo, aren't we?
Yeah, well, with the pandemic and all, but I'm more looking at from a standpoint of the I see the fire departments coming through our building here. Um, it, there's a huge fire truck outside I just see, and they're getting ready to check all our lights throughout the building and all. So,
If there's an incident, we should get the camera on it so we can get it on TikTok and
oh yeah. That if there's an incident, I want those on TikTok. Thank you. What a great idea. But out in the warehouses, we have to have certain type of signs and ceilings and all, and then
right.
upstairs. So anyway, um, no, we've been kind of we have so many projects going on that we've just been working in the background with the epidemic, of course, with the COVID and everything, kind of kept us already everybody insulated. But on top of that, we've been so busy on major projects and everything that we have not been out in the public eye as much. We have a MailChimp account with active good emails, emails that are active running, not just the ones that don't work also, but of 42,000 plus.
Wow.
And if I send out an email once every 6 months, I'm lucky, and they charge me almost $400 a month just to have that account. So we definitely need to be maybe a little more out there. But as I tell people, I'd rather use my money and employ people who are being constructive in building up the new games and simulations that we're working on and projects that we're working on versus people who are just advertising, because advertisers don't really, that's the engineer in me, it's like those sales guys, they just get all of it. What a waste. Give me good engineers so we have the good product and people will come.
That's great.
So
That's great. Well, that's you're the multi-headed beast, I'm sure, in your role there at Academy.
well, we are getting some new people and trying new software programs. We used to use like Hootsuite, but now there's so many really cool software programs that allow us to pull the emails from not only all of our email accounts, but from our Facebook accounts, from our Hootsuite accounts, the Amazon accounts. So it's all in one spot so that we can have people, all our customer interfacing is one program, not having to jump all around. And that, I think, we're in the midst of implementing that, and that really helps. But then people still get mad and go, oh, why don't you ever answer my Board Game Geek message? And I'm like, or my Console World message, or, oh, I left you a message on this board over here. You guys never answer your messages. And I'm like, contact sales or info at Academy Games. And
Right.
because it's hard, and in so many languages. German fans, we do most of our games in multiple, like 7 languages usually, and they all hit us up in their local boards, and it's tough, especially for a company that, like us, we don't have a whole marketing department, because to me, I'd rather use the money in reserves for putting out new products. So there you go. You got you're like a therapist for me, Harold. I just filled it all out.
I hope that was therapeutic. But one of the things you bring up, Uwe, that's very interesting, that I'd love to hear your thoughts on, but it's very much a family business, right? There, my goodness, amazing, incredible that you might have that.
I should drink with my left hand, not my right.
But it's very much a family business, right? I mean, you and I were recently having a discussion about a business opportunity, and your wife was there on the phone with us, and
yeah,
Gunther.
Kari does our accounting, our books, and since with the pandemic, we we had one person get sick and all that, and so we lost our main customer interface person. And so with especially where we're located in on the pimple on the ass of the world, where
I'm a Buckeye. You're located in heaven as far as I'm concerned.
The nice thing is we don't have hurricanes, we don't have droughts, we don't have earthquakes, I'm knocking on wood as I'm saying this. All we have are tornadoes, and tornadoes are horrible things, but they're one of these maladies that give you huge forward warning. If you hear a train coming your way, get in cover. It's not that a train jumped the tracks and is going down the road. No, it's a tornado coming your way, So luckily, a lot of people here have basements or in trailer parks and all that secure areas they can go. So we're pretty lucky. We've had great season. The bees, we have an apiary. We have bee hives, Stockwerke in our yard. And the honey's been incredible this year. Incredible. So yeah, Ohio's okay.
But Ohio State football is driving distance.
You mean American football or real football?
I mean Ohio State football.
Well, yeah, their soccer team was like one of the top-rated soccer teams in America. So I agree with you. Yeah.
There we go. We'll just give it that. Yes.
And the Browns did beat Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday.
Yes. Very exciting. Very exciting. Well,
but, I'm a Liverpool in the Champions League fanatic and a Dortmunder fan. But Dortmund to me that's my savings grace. Right. I get on my Bundesliga soccer games and I'm happy. I'm sorry, we're getting so off the key.
We're drifting, but that's okay. I guess I was just trying to get a feel for the business. So it's yes. So it's you. Carrie does accounting, and I know works to keep you focused, right?
Yeah, she's my barometer. When I get into business meetings or anything like that, she has a very good sense of she'll come after me and said, you know what, we have to watch out for this person. There's something there I don't quite trust. And she has such a great innate sense where I am like, if I know it's a snake and I can work with a snake that benefits my business, I'll work with the snake because I know it's a snake and I'll handle it like a snake.
Right.
Where she says she's much more like, if it's nice, friendly snake, they're good snakes also. But, it's like, and I agree with her more and more the older I get, surround yourself with good juju.
Yeah.
Is so much better than surrounding myself with bad juju.
Yes.
Being with positive, good people in life. And I've been lucky that's been 95% of my life has been very, very, and that's a high percentage.
Right. No doubt. So Carrie, you also have, I know Gunther is involved, right? Your son?
Gunther is our head of design. And he is, of course, he's a biomechanical engineer, just phenomenal. His work in DNA manipulation and our early leukemia detection and protein marker attachments to individual DNA objects created that he came up with, but Ohio State does not allow you to keep patents and everything in your name and get profits later on, which is one of the drawbacks with Ohio State, I think, which long term they're going to have to follow like Princeton, companies like that, or universities like that say, if you come up with a great patentable idea, yes, you still keep the majority. We get a little part of it,
right?
But you get the benefit of it long time, because what's happening, going to left Ohio State said, why should I work 10 years getting this through and I get nothing out of it when I could be working on the industry, doing a board game and make $1 million on a Kickstarter? I go, it's not that easy. Going to, you're like, you've got patents going through for your leukemia detection, your DNA strands that corporations can use that has a negative valence on the bottom to put medicines with protein marker, goes after leukemia cells in rats, boom. eradicates all the leukemia cells in like half an hour.
Right. Amazing.
Where the industry is coming so far, and then he goes and says, well, I can make more money just doing Kickstarter and doing games with you.
That's
I'm
awesome.
like, are you nuts? It's not that easy. And then boom, boom, boom. You know, we have some pretty big Kickstarters. So I have to eat crow there. So he's in charge of our development, and is an incredible person, especially for me to work with. I'm very lucky because I'm also an engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer that then specialized in metallurgy, plastics developments, things like that.
Right.
And being able to, I'm very on the, I think the left side's the more creative side, very thinking creatively, and having a son who's also very creative and almost better than I am at most of these things. The synergy you can get going back and forth and coming up with ideas and being aligned with a lot of these ideas is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. So it's very lucky. The down part is, of course, there's the looseness of a family type of interaction where they tell me that I'm full of bullshit, you know, half the time.
We know that's not true.
It's only true 90% of the time that they say. So
that's great.
But well, we're very lucky. You know, in my past business, I've had 7 businesses before this, all the way from, you know, we have one of the top internet gambling sites with Networld Online, Halo Corporation. And then with our industries, manufacturing, we did. Then in Europe, I had Eickert GmbH, which was based in Germany. And then with Austrian headquarters, or not Austria, Swiss headquarters, where we did distribution into the beauty markets and things like that, working with French, German, Swiss. Then we had another company in just specialized toolings for the space centers and everything. So we've been lucky that I always have had partners. I always partner up with people, either other companies or bring partners, minority partners in that have just propelled the businesses up. So we've been, you know, that's why I retired 14 years old when 14 years ago when I sold Eickert GmbH and Eickert here in America to Jarden Corporation and retired, and that lasted 3 months. So, but you know, who wants to retire?
Right. Yeah. No, I tried that once. It didn't work very well. So, 14 years of Academy Games, and you started certainly with war games in mind, right? And that's been a passion for you. You probably played the most of your life.
I'm not a war game player. I love war games, but when I analyzed the market at the time, and every business is business, and you go where the easiest entry to barriers are. And analyzing the market at the time, I had several games, of which most I haven't even published yet. They're still lingering there because, you know, everything gets pushed aside. But I felt at the time that the market, the barrier to entries for war games was the best, because war games were, and much less now, but still are in general, still stuck in a time loop of the 70s and 80s. Now the good designers are definitely changing, but by the old war games, I meant you're playing a game, you have charts, you have very long progressive turn structures. You have where I'm doing something, the other people are twiddling their hands for 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 minutes at a time. Where the Euro games were coming out with such new and interesting and just groundbreaking game designs, rule engine designs, that was cutting through here, you have to memorize this, you have to look this information up, and they were building it into the game system, that in the game system, things were naturally happening. So for example, one of the big things I saw and what influenced me is like in Conflict of Heroes, which was our first war game series. Having, when a side starts breaking down losses, overwhelming odds, things just shit hitting the fan, and you have that breakdown, the logistical breakdown, the communication, just the morale break, the arbitration of losing NCOs and officers. They had all these rules. We're in conflict of peers where we have our command track. You lose a guy, it goes on this command track on the far end. And the more you lose, the less command you have to take the decisions and influence a battle the way you want. So that little things like that, which people go, oh, I do that, okay. But they don't understand that little act took 3 to 4 pages of rules away, that in the old days, people will go, oh, if you have these losses, then these units get this much less movement, and then you have to do this and this and this for your logistics. And so the days of games like that are gone, because players were so inundated by all this information coming in that even guys like us who grew up pre-internet time era, even our brains are being rebuilt to react to quick text messages, quick YouTube short films. So we don't want to sit there and play a game where I'm waiting for half an hour, an hour. I don't want to play, in general, a game that's going to last 5 to 6 hours. I'd rather play 2 or 3 good games in that time frame. So that's why at the time I saw that the war games were still using little chits and ugly little paper hand-drawn maps.
No, Uwe, there's a group of people that still love that, right? And
Yes.
a lot of it's due to the fact that that's kind of what many of us grew up with. So
Right.
we don't begrudge that group, right? But
I do not.
The question I have for you is, what?
And I don't mean to be insulting. I have a tendency of insulting people by means I don't mean.
Yeah.
My point is, I, as a business, am here to make money. I'm not to put out my loving war game because it's my love. No, I have to keep this business going to keep all our employees across the world paid.
Yes. And if I insult somebody, I'd like to do it on purpose. That would be my choice, right? So
and I tell people right away, Weißt, ich bin Deutscher. I was brought up this way. I say what I think.
Yes.
And I apologize if I insult the small minority of people who still like playing those games.
Right.
But if we don't sell between 15 and 30,000 copies of a war game, we're wasting our time. What I'm trying to say is, because, well, I don't like playing the lookup charts. These are the very analytical, like planning everything ahead. You go do something. Take a walk for an hour. My turn will be over in an hour. Yeah. There are few people who still like that, but there's such a minority. Now, those few people like that also like the games where they can just get in play. Right. So I'm not saying that I don't like running.
Right.
But I try not to run too often during the day.
You and me both. So here's the question. The question is, let's talk a little bit about how it benefits the hobby, right? And for me, it's a hobby I've played in for years and love, to find mechanisms in games that are more playable and more and quicker to learn, and perhaps even more interesting. How does that benefit the hobby?
Well, the hobby it's the way our brain is working. You know, I read more about how the brain works. I have more books. Right now I'm reading a Conscientious Crisis, you know, how people now are reacting to each other in society. Why, how, what are what triggers people, what pulls them back. And it's how our brains work. The average, and you know, I'm going to insult people again, but it is
on purpose.
I don't like just washing it off and say, oh, it's the way it is. The average adult in the world, not America, in the world, in some areas it's even worse, that you meet out there What do they do during the day? What new things are they learning where they have to sit down and study and bring new information in their brain so that their brain still stays active to new ideas? The average person, you can tell them 2 new things in a game before they start putting up their eye shields and their brain starts phasing out to everything else coming in. So many of us know who have friends who've never played a game before. You have to start out with very simple games and then work them up. So that number one, they learn mechanics of the easy games that are used as foundations for more advanced games, but also get their brains active enough that they cannot just shut down after 2, but can take in 5 to 6, maybe even 7 new concepts. Then you have the people whose brains are firing on all 8 cylinders, or let's get away from that, are firing on a really good lithium battery, and that they then can take these 5, 6, 7 different components coming in their mind, can take that in, can visualize and put together a game plan to win a game or take actions or make decisions. So this is not only important, so key for games, but even in life. And your average person goes day in, day out talking about football, talking about the weather, and turning on the TV. Their brains are atrophied. So we have to build games where they do not have exemption rules. They don't have to go and say, this you have to memorize if this happens. Every time I have to do that in any of my games, I'm like, God, how can we get out of it? If there's no way to get out of it, how can we make it very clear in front of them that this is a trigger to it? So yes, the main thing that modern game design is doing is working on the masses so that they can enjoy games. The war game industry is stronger and bigger than it ever has been in history. People go, oh, wargaming is dying out. No, more people are playing war games now than in the 70s and 80s. And it keeps growing. But are they the Richthofen's War? Are they Panzer Leader? Are they all these games? The new people, no, it's hard to get someone coming in. Hey guys, let's play a game. We were just at a convention that had nothing to do with gaming, and people wanted to play apples to apples. I go, nice game, but we're like 14 people here. Let me teach you a game. We played Werewolf. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to play Werewolf.
Yes.
But getting across to this new people, I said, many of you, this is going to be so out there. You're going to look at this game and it will make no sense. So just sit back. Don't worry about making sense. It will make sense for half of you. The other half of you, it will not the first few times. But trying to get them even a concept like Werewolf, where you're just talking with people, but it's the subtleties after a few rounds of seeing how people are voting, what they're saying, what they're doing, and having those blocks fall together, say, that's a werewolf. Yeah. And being able to knock and get it right. So that's my point, is that the majority of people in the world cannot take in new information on a game, cannot process this new information to be able to put together and take actions. So you have to make it as easy as possible so that you get the masses, because the average person will decide if they like or dislike a game in the first 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. So if I'm sitting down and saying, hey, it's going to take us about 20 minutes to teach you this game, same the way rules are written. Many rule books go, this is what's all included in this game. I'm a new player. Why am I throwing all this information on the person? You know, you've seen our rule books have changed also, all just to make it easier. You know, here you have this. Here, set up the game like this. Do this first, this. Guess what? They're putting their fingers on, they're seeing what's in the game, and they see what they do. Boom. And then right away, make it fast, easy. I turn this game, the page, and you're playing easy. Make it easy. I mean, Vikings is a 6 rules game, but there's a lot of subtleties in there built in. So we're doing that more and more with our AIs, with our war games and everything. We are bringing it in through lock and keys. With our newer games, like our new, and we'll talk about this maybe in a little while, with Stellaris, which is this huge 4X video game that we've taken, which is a hound of a game to learn, incredible game, but the depth of the game in the video game can overwhelm some people. In the board game, it's like in 5 minutes, you know how to play here. Here are these 4 sheets: expand, exploit, explore, and not exterminate. We don't believe in exterminating because that's not real exopolitics. So you've got these things, choose one of them, and here, real big symbols. What do you want to do? Right. And here's what's cost. No longer I have to count and see what my resources are. If I get a mining resource, or I've done it, I pull that resource and it's my trade. I want to do something. I take those resources, put them on my board. Simple. Everybody does it at the same time. Then when you execute, do it at the same time. But the subtlety is nobody knows which one of these 4 phases you're doing at that time. You could move, trying to start a battle, moving to my system while I'm heavy into building defense systems because I thought, oh, he might attack me. Once we did all the planning, you can't pull back. Like in real life, you've committed. Everybody goes, and he's moving in, and all of a sudden you're building all these things and going, oh, shit. And you're like, you came to attack me? And he's like, no, I'm here on a diplomatic mission. Let's be friends. So the games have to be, even very complicated games, you need to be able to teach it in 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah. To be successful and make money. And a lot of businesses are going out of business now. Right. Because their games, everybody thinks they're game designer, but good game designers understand that. Yeah. And then also the turnaround of time. You know, we're trying to, our 3rd edition, and these are just little things that we really don't say, but I don't even know if I've ever told that, but our 3rd edition of Conflict of Heroes, we got rid of the 7 action points. You no longer have to track how many actions a unit gets. Now you just choose any unit, and when it took its action, you roll a spend check die. That's a weighted die as 2 1s, 1 2, 2 3s, 1 4, 2 5s, 6 and a 7. So 10-sider dice. If you need to get higher than a 3, it's a 50-50 odds because there's 2 1, 1 2, and 2 3s on a 10-sider. We did that progression so that you using one of your command points takes that percentage down, and now it's a 30% chance of staying fresh, not being, to be able to continue to take actions specific to the mission on their own volition, that unit, instead of it being spent, meaning it will only take actions for that remainder round from a commander's standpoint. Commander can still say, go do, but you want them to be on their own volition, continuing to go on mission objective. Why did we do this? That you roll that die? Because we've learned subconsciously, people love that mechanism from gambling addiction of rolling a die for outcome. That decision, rolling an outcome, has dopamine effects in the brain, which has been for millennia. People get addicted. So we took our normal game of, oh, I'm going to attack you, and boom, that gave you it. We doubled it by then also having to see, it's going to be spent. How bad do I need it? Do I take some of these rare resources, add it so my odds are better? Just by doubling that. And as stupid as people think that mechanism is, for the majority of people, it is this mechanical thing, the brain. They like that better than keeping track of numbers. So that's what I mean with the modern day in design. How can we bring from modern gambling, that we know how modern gambling addictions work? how the brain works, how decision cycles, tightening them up work, how all these incredible game designs, old designs, pull a card to see what happens. Old school, you're pulling card, no decision. Here, 4 cards or 3 cards. You want to do this. But if someone else does that or spends resources to pull what you want before you get it, tension. I'm not going to do this because I want that card before he gets it. But if I pull that card before I do this, then he may do this, that'll screw me over here. Modern game design. Yeah. So simple. Don't draw blind cards. Have so many cards showing, plus the option to draw blind if you wish. Little mechanics like that have just catapulted gameplay and game design from the standpoint of how the brain reacts to it.
Right, right. No, and it's good, right? I think the idea of making these games more accessible from your perspective as a publisher increases the universe of people that may be interested in buying your games. From a hobbyist perspective, like mine, I have very small, bits in the game, but from my perspective, it means more people to play games with. It means more publishers that will produce games. There's just a lot of benefit, I think, to creating these games. So I appreciate you doing that. I'd like to talk a little bit about Stellaris and the Kickstarter, right? I mean, what an incredibly successful game this has been for you. And would love just some of your thoughts on the history. Why the Kickstarter? Why go after a property like this that has its own IP? And I just curious about your thoughts on this approach.
I just launched a. Can you see my window here?
Can see your window. Looks great. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything else disappeared on me. Let me see where I am. I don't. It took away everything. Your face. Everything disappeared. But on our website, if I click on here and I click for more information, this is where we stand with that. I don't know if you can see it right now.
Oh yeah, $3 million. Wow.
Right. And this is through Caradox right now, and it's just a phenomenal game. It's taking a civilization, building it up, building your resources, and again, modern game design. If you build a star base, a protective star base, like, can you see my mouse?
Yes.
Like here, you have a star base protecting this planetary system. When you play that, you take the resources required to keep that going. You take those resources and it comes out of your resource well and goes away. So in future rounds, you don't have those resources to do anything else because it's supporting the protective star base centers around certain planetary and star systems. So I don't know how I got on. Oh, I was just looking at the picture. But here we have a game where we're over 3 million. It should have been a little over 4, but we lost in the middle of the campaign. We made sure that people understood when we're getting ready to ship that they'd have to pay the shipping and their VAT. Because when this was running, we still did not understand or have all the information that took place in June of how Brexit would work. Would they continue to allow, if the game were under 120 euro, it comes in without having to go through customs? And that's what the laws were with a lot of countries before June of this year. But now it's changed, and most of them have said, nix mehr, it comes in no matter what the price, they're paying the duties on it. So when we made people aware of it in the middle of the Kickstarter campaign, we lost over 3 days, Harold. We lost a little over $800,000 in backers.
Wow.
At the same time, because when you see a campaign that's in, we were at like 2.5 million at the time. You lose and you drop from 2.5 down to 1.7 in 3 days. That'll bring a cascading thing of panic where a campaign could be doomed and people just flee like crazy. So we had to pay roughly, we had to do then roughly around $45,000 worth of Facebook. And this is stuff, just internal information. But I just want to let people know how psychologically some of the things that companies like us have to go through. We had to put $45,000 of just emergency, let's cover this, through Facebook and Google ads to bring new customers in who understood, hey, we understand Brexit, that's the way it is. VAT, that's the way it is. We can't cheat like a lot of people try to just ship it in and not pay VAT. A company like us, we can't afford to do that.
Right.
So we luckily got a little over 600,000 in new backers over those 3 days. So we only dropped from 2.5 down to $2.3 million over that 3-day span. And if people go through the Kickstarter and they see it was going up, and you see that drop of 200,000 and then slowly going back up again, that was total ulcer and more gray hair for Uwe time that people don't realize. You know, right. You don't publicize it. It's just internally total panic times.
Right.
And this is things that for and I'm going to go in and I'm going to try to stop the screen sharing here. Mm-hmm. Stop share. And there I am again.
There you go.
These are little things that companies like us have to go through. And you're asking, yeah, we're very family oriented because it's my wife, my son and I are in the business, but then we have, you know, our art teams, our project managers, all of our other full-time salaried people.
Right.
And we're adding more and more. You know, I interviewed some people last week, some of the old people who disappeared during the COVID in Europe and all that because of issues with having to leave the countries and things like that. We just found one of our incredible artists again who had to move out of the country and go back to his country. And he's now starting again with us full time. So we, the companies are so stressed already. And then we have these other things that most people don't see. And they're going, oh, you're holding back on this game, you know, because you're trying to take advantage of us. No, we only make money when we sell you the game and take your money. Me delaying publishing game is not because I'm greedy. No, it's because we're so damn anal, unfortunately, being engineers and Germans. And when I say German, we're actually card-carrying German, you know, passport people.
You're the real deal.
Well, we are the nice, we're the come to America and have to go through and learn linguistics so that we kind of blend in Germans.
Well, but so the Stellaris, you told the story of the lost orders, but it's a wonderful success for you, right? I mean, exactly. In the end, what $3 million is just a fantastic bit of revenue from a game, right?
Yes, and I think when we come out with the different European languages, we're going to do the expansion then, the Hive expansion. Once we ship this, we're going to do the Hive expansion, do a new Kickstarter. We think it'll be even better.
Right.
And now we were approached by a company who saw at Gen Con, we were running full games. I mean, the game is done. The game has hundreds of different storylines that intertwine. And it's called Stellaris Infinite Legacy because any decision you make radiates forward and changes how the game is played, the universe, everything. And it's not like a legacy like the old Risk legacy where you tear a card or something like that. This legacy means that you as a player found a new planet with a mineral that you really need for your star drive systems, but there's already a civilization on it that's very aggressive, an avian aggressive civilization that is very militant, but hasn't reached the stars yet, is only on their planet. You need this because you're getting pressure from these other empires coming from this area. This empire has already started a counter-religious movement in your sectors. This game isn't build up armies and kill each other.
Right.
This game is a subtle game, and I'll go into the details why, again, how we're trying to get the masses in. But if you then go on this planet because you feel we need to get these minerals right away, and you just eradicate the civilization, that decision will make this card, or a card tells you to pull, goes then on top of your player screen. And it's a very unique player screen that we showed, but I'll get into that in a while. It goes on your player screen and it will show a lock, a symbol, and a number. If at any time other storylines or other civilizations meet you and were throughout the universe at the time, they may have a key that unlocks that lock that makes your decision, which other players don't know about, makes it known. That will unlock negativity storylines going for you because of other races and empires going, whoa, they just went to this planet. Can you believe it? They just wiped out that whole civilization. Unbelievable. You know, and the players then either freely, because it doesn't help them if maybe, or they don't trust you then, or by how the storylines and what their ethics are for their civilization will keep them from doing stuff with you. And so these storylines propagate like that and radiate. But if you did this with this planet and wiped them out, but then you had put like did some other thing at another time that may negate this and get it away because other things take precedent over it, that these lock and keys will do this stuff, which may be beneficial to you. So it's a very unique system that hasn't really been done. We started it with our Agents of Mayhem, but it's so much more sophisticated. And with a system, it's meant to be played. You're playing a 2-hour game. It's another thing in game design. It's a 2-hour game. You're playing an era. Here are your objectives. Win or lose. I won the game. Wow, what a great game. See you later. Or we had so much fun. Let's save our stuff it's made such each empire can put their solar planet, not solar, star systems. Earth is the solar, the only one solar system in there. I had to get used to that. But take their star systems, everything, they have their own trays and all, and they save it. And then the next time you play, if we just started a game together, we're all second era. But now someone new wants to come in. They didn't play with us. Like, hey, I want to join your game. Come on in. You're first era. They only have to get one objective. We now, to play this game, need 2 objectives fulfilled. One of my objectives may be to help this new one get to the stars in some way. And they're going, oh, what a nice guy, Uwe. You know, he's helping me play. It's first time playing. What a nice guy. He's helping me play. No, by helping you, I win the game. That gives me benefits. I won the game. Everybody had fun. If you want to continue, play another era. If you're playing the campaign, your civilization ascends in 5 to 7 eras. Then you can say, oh, the first one is saying you won, you won. Or no, if you're loving it so much and the others want to see where their plans and the storylines and how everything keeps going, once you ascend, that you then start a new empire with a whole new type of race and everything, but you have legacy benefits from where you ascended the last time. And all this ascending, that civilization, all the cards that were added into the game pool and all from their storylines continue to influence. So what we've done is we're taking a war game, tech, influence, empire building into 2-hour segments that are very quick to learn, and you're playing. So when you're first playing a new player, you don't care what your legacy, you don't care about your ethics. You're playing, but as soon as you do something that could be influenced by ethics, the game pops in, it says pull these cards from your player box, and it tells you what ethics are. So you're learning these new rules where most people are like that, over your first 2-hour period of where you're playing the game, having fun for 45 minutes and go, oh, ethics. What kind of ethics do I want my empire to be? I am a mushroom, a sentient mushroom, and I am going to go through the planets. I don't need all this food and everything like high metabolism species like me, humans, or the bird-like, or these other amoeba-like or gaseous forms. So my ethic would be that I have to be very communal and not a very aggressive internally, because for long trips, we have to be very egalitarian. So I'm going to go with these ethics. Now, these ethics, when certain things happen, will limit you to what you can do and can't do. So that's what Stellaris is about.
Right.
It's a incredible space. Could be a war game if you get guys all just want to fight. But if I'm fighting, you're more powerful. I might send out internal political conflict that has, if you're a very passive, all of a sudden I'm going to get a very hawkish faction going. I'm going to get your crime bosses helping in trading narcotics to bring maybe their profits in, but all of a sudden you have narcotics issues and drug issues. And it's one of these beautiful games where you can really play with people without them knowing it. And then all of a sudden it happens, they're like, son of a bitch.
So tell me about the decision to work with a property, right? A existing property, and how hard that is to negotiate into terms that make the risk acceptable for you.
The number one thing I want to really quick say that that should fit in front of this. I, as a game publishing company, have value only if I own a property. A lot of designers go, oh, I'm the designer, I own this, I'm going to license it to you, Harold, to your company. And if you don't do it quite as I like, or this or that, I'm going to pull it and I can go somewhere else. As the industry matures more and more, I, as a company, if I only have the license for a game, not a big video license like this, I'm just talking general. A game designer says, hey, how do you like my game? With our agreements, we say, yes, we're going to do this. In writing, legal, every copy we sell, you are going to get royalties on. But we own it. We own it lock, stock, and barrel. It is ours. If we do not have that, what is our company? What value does our company have if we don't have the assets to the games that we've built up worldwide, gone through the effort, the marketing, the risk, and everything? Yes, people go, oh, but you're making the money on the sales. The risk, the money it takes to develop a game, do it right like we do, we really put a lot of time into it. Going multiple languages and everything, all of a sudden then it could be pulled from us, or the next game in the series goes to someone else on a series that we build up. I've been approached by 3 different companies who are hurting, and there are a lot of game companies hurting right now. And it's going to get worse now with the rate hikes and the slowdown, Europe slowing down sales. And this is all part of my buildup to working with the video company. If you do not own 90% of the titles that you have built up and is in your repertoire of games, if you don't own them, your value of your company is 0, because the inventory that you own is not put into the value of your company. I'm building your engine to make me more money in the future. I'm paying you this amount of money because the $1 million I'm going to pay you is going to give me a return of 12% per year over the next 10 years. But most games, as you know, have a very short life now because there's 7,000 new games coming out. The average game only has an active high sell rate during the Kickstarter and 3 to 5 weeks after it's released till Cool Stuff Inc., Noble Knights are all We've got the other 100 new games coming out. That's in the back page. You do really good 3 weeks and boom. And a year after it comes out, you almost have zero sales for 99% of the games coming out. So you're seeing more and more companies like us going, we'd love to work with you. We're going to put our heart and soul in this. We're giving guarantees on paper that you will be paid for every copy we ever sell. But we own it. It's not yours anymore. Our derivative works on it. You're going to get percentages of it. We want you to do more because we're putting tens of thousands in advertising worldwide, different languages. The money we're putting in now, just all the fake stuff coming out of China. There are more Storms of Steel being sold illegally through Chinese, anyway. So at first, designers are like, no, that's not how it works. It's my game. I keep control. Good luck. Spend the $50,000 to $100,000 in taking the risk in today's market, selling it, having a game where you have to do the good marketing. We want this thing to go out. We cannot afford to sell only 3,000 copies. We've got to sell tens of thousands to make the money to come back. So that's number one. So why would we do with this in mind? And a lot of designers says, no, we can't do that. Well, I wouldn't say a lot. Still about 30% who come to us say, no, I'm not going to do that. Wish you a lot of luck. And probably out of those 30%, 95 are just sitting on their games because there are not many publishers out there anymore who are going to take off the random streets new designers or even established designers and put all the money because there's so many games. There's a plethora of games out there. So why would we go with like Paradox Games? And we're very picky with that. We're a very small company compared to a Hasbro or whatever.
Sure.
But we are also with a very specific market. And the reason why is that we only do games that we love to play. So I've been a Stellaris fanatic. Gunta loved Stellaris. And it was a game we loved. And when we were approached, we talked with them. We sat down internally before we went further with them, came up with a good engine that we thought would work. And we put a good 3 full solid weeks of work into this with our design teams, going round. How can we take this very complex game and make it where in 5 minutes people have gone through the basics and can play and go, this is cool. I want to keep playing. And why we do it is because working with a company like Paradox, which has a great reputation, will help our sales short-term and hopefully long-term, because we believe in long-term partnerships and we stay loyal, and everything we do is try to make the Paradox Stars legacy game flourish. We're looking for them. It has to be a two-way street. They're helping us by making people aware of Academy games to hundreds of thousands of players, new ones. So if they get our Stellaris game like it, they may try our upcoming Western Twilight game or our Conflict of Heroes games or 878 Vikings. We gain through that. Plus, we make a lot of money on selling the Stellaris game. And it helps us with the cash flow and all. We're developing, again, it's forcing us to try all new type of game engines, which we then use in our other games. So it is a risk because you can lose it like that, and then you're gone. All the work, everything you've done, everything you've built up is gone. The only good thing is with the huge, big studios like this, if it's gone, when we think is other people are doing games, they have a tendency of doing not a game that's similar to the video game, but in a board game where we're trying to make it even better and bring the storylines that go in line with that, and people who play the video game love it, and people who've never played the video game love the board game, want to buy the video game, and vice versa. A lot of companies, they will use a license, do a stupid like chess playing game, and put the blanket of the video game over it, the name. It has nothing to do with the video game. It's just some stupid, dorky little game that has a name of it. That's very disappointing to the video game players. So there are not many game companies that can take a title like that and do it. So it's helped us a lot because of with Stellaris, we're negotiating, I can't go with whom, but we've been approached for an even larger, it's like 3 times bigger than Stellaris. And it was instead of jumping on it, we waited 2 or 3 months internally going through, do we have the bandwidth to do this, to keep Stellaris going the way it should be, and also this, and what we're doing with our military games, our military training games, which is a whole nother area we've been working in the background, really don't publicize, that aren't for the main public. And we finally decided, we talked with a lot of people in the industry that we're very close to, and they're all like, you guys are nuts if you don't do that, because it's huge. It makes Stellaris look small, So, and it's a game that I've played since it first came out 20 years ago, and I love it. So, it's a the simple question, how's it working? Why would you want to work with the video game company? It's a very, very deep thought process you have to go to, because you don't own the rights. And I, as a company, if I would sell my company, how much of my valuation will the new company coming in put to my license of this? Because they could pull at any moment. Are they going to give me another $3 million in sales in what it's going to cost them to buy my brand, just because I have this huge video game that's very popular, but could be pulled any moment?
Yeah.
Now, if I didn't have Gunther in on the business, who's so good at what he is, who's continuing the Academy game line, and he's a person who gets along with everybody, as aggressive as we are, we're not purposely aggressive and try to backstab or talk about people behind their back. We actually get along with most people in the industry. I can't tell you anybody we don't get along with except one person. Now we may not get along with a lot of people and we don't know it, but in general, so I would not be doing a lot of this if there weren't a continuity to Academy Games that's set, because I probably only have another good 10 years of really productive design in me before, I'm like going, I want to go and I'm going to do that bike trip, along North Afghanistan to Pakistan that I always wanted to do.
Right.
Or whatever,
Right. Yeah, well, let's get the designs out before you head to Afghanistan and Pakistan on a bike.
I had a friend who hit me up 6 years ago, an Austrian, and he says, Uwe, all German, he's Austrian, another German, myself. He says, we're going along northern Afghanistan, going into Pakistan. It's beautiful hiking and all that. It's going to be a 4-week hike. I'm like, what a great idea. My wife is, are you nuts?
Yeah.
No. And they called me when it was done. They're sending me pictures. Had the time of their life.
Yeah.
With all the war and all the shit going on, if you're German, it's like, oh, hey, no problem.
That sounds too much like being a Green Beret without a gun, is what that sounds like. But in closing, Uwe, what else is coming for you, and what can you share with us that's interesting and new?
I have a few things I cannot share, but let me open up here.
Well, the stuff you can't share is the stuff we'd like to see.
I'm going to share this screen right here. I'm going to share not the screen. I'm going to share the entire window. Let me see if I can do a window on this. I don't use Zoom as much as I use Discord and other ones, so I have to see.
That's all right. Take
how
your time. Take your time.
I don't
People
know if
probably
this
enjoy
will
looking
only-
at our faces.
I'm trying to do my whole screen and not a window. It says only select window. Let me go advanced. No.
Well, your window, your whole screen gives you the risk of us seeing something we don't need to see.
Oh no, I have everything off. Trust me, I'm paranoid with that. We were hacked. We have another website that's not open to the public for specific customers and everything.
Right.
And we got hacked last Monday morning, Sunday night or Monday morning. But the software is made that as soon as it senses anything, it just shuts down. Even we. And it took us since Monday to get back in through this program that just shuts down. And luckily they didn't get anything. I mean, it just, even us, but they do it on purpose that way. We have to go through all we have to give certifications again to get in our own website and get it going again. So that's been most of my week here. But anyway, I'm going to show here this game right here. I'm going to go, I cannot see how to share I apologize, an entire.
Yeah, that's all right. I just went through it.
Okay, so I'm going to share this one here. This is our Western Twilight coming up. Can you see this okay?
Yes, looks great.
I'm going to try to hit a plus sign here to make it a little bigger. There we go. Western Twilight is all done, going through just the final art stages before it goes out to print.
Generally, it looks like a game of facial hair.
Yeah, it's a very facial hair. It's pre-World War I.
Yes.
And it is a game where you are putting your influence throughout the world, getting influence in sectors of the world through getting dominance to help your country either get military, diplomatic, or economic dominance of the area. So it's an area control type game using historical decisions and things happening. I'm going to try to open up tell me if the screen, I'm going to close this window and then open up another one. I don't know if it'll translate here. It stopped screen sharing.
That's all right.
Darn it.
If you open up another window on your computer and then go to the share.
And now I'm going to go to here.
And play-by-play is exciting. This is why people love these videos.
Thank you. I'm going to share here again, share screen. And this is can you see it again?
Yes, there's a map. Yeah.
So here's the world map. You're getting your influence placed on it. Every player, it's a rondelle as you're going through that gives you different type of actions. If you're trying to go further than your normal 1 to 3, you can put more of resources to get to this other thing. If you are afraid someone else, let's say you have control of Africa here and the French are trying to get into Morocco or Libya or Egypt to gain their influence and take over, then you may want to do other things. And you can, as you're playing the game, you can change the direction you're taking by putting new rondelle pie pieces in that allow you to specialize in certain areas. Very fast playing game. And then you have the heat cycle. The game ends as soon as 2 of the European mites are exactly opposite and World War I breaks out. And if it goes into World War I and war breaks out, then the players who have the main influences in military areas in the final scoring in different parts of the world will get, let's say, 3 points per area. Whereas those who went either diplomatic or through economics will only get 2 or 1. But as you're going through the game and you're deciding to go diplomatic or economically, well, economically gives you benefits during the game that allow you to expand more and give you much more power. But it's easier to go to war than to create peace. So if you're in a peace type era or economic, then of course the economics will get 3 points each, where war may only get 1 and diplomatic 2. But if you are able to get everybody in the blue, in the cool area, then the world has settled down, and then the diplomatics will get the big winning option. Very fast, clean game, plays in under 2 hours. And this is our Western Twilight game. Cancel. I want to get out of here so I can show one more. Do you want to? No, I don't. Okay. So that is our Western Twilight game. And
when will Western Twilight be available? Are you going to do a Kickstarter? What's your thought on that?
We are right now, as I say, the artwork is done. We are doing the final testing with everything from artwork and everything. The game is set. So we are looking to go to printer in October, and we should be able to start shipping in December to January somewhere. We have not made this aware anywhere. We've decided to go more the route where if we're not doing a Kickstarter or something, that we put the game out for pre-order with specials, like a Kickstarter, but we're going to do it through our pre-orders, and that people have so long to pre-order, and then we ship immediately after the pre-orders are done. Instead of saying, hey, we're taking all these pre-orders, and then we're going to use your money to go to the printer, and it's going to take 4 to 6 months. We're changing everything going this route. So we have our Western Twilight, the France 1940, which I have thought was going to be out in February of this year. Did not go out because I decided to make much more use of false intelligence coming in. So everything was done a year and a half ago. And again, because of what we're doing in other games, I'm like, oh no, this would work so well in Conflict of Heroes. And there's a delay.
Look, we all have limited bandwidth, right? I mean, you have to pick and choose what you spend your
Right.
time on. Yeah.
Well, and I'm a little too picky, and I'm working on that. A game, I always say a game is shit and people are always mad at you. But a shitty game that comes out on time is always a shitty game. A game that's late, a really good game that's late, is only shitty till it comes out, and then it's good forever on.
You're forgiven, yes.
Yeah. So we have our Korean War, which all the artwork is done. That was done already 2.5 years ago. But I'm now in the third iteration of changing the lock and keys. It's our Fog of War, like Strike of the Eagle.
Right.
Everything the same, but in Strike of the Eagle, when you did historical events in the middle, they just had like a now event. But with the Korean War, I want it to be more like what we're doing with Stellaris and everything, that if you decide to play nuclear weapons as Americans on the northern borders with China to keep the Chinese from coming, what are the long-term repercussions? Can't be, here, this is what happens now. No, long-term, your logistics are going to suffer because Japan starts revolting that you use nuclear weapons, and our logistics through Japan aren't working anymore. This and that. And I wanted to put it in. The game was incredible. It's probably the best Korean War game. I learned more playing this game in our Fog of War series, that's like our Strike of the Eagle, than I ever did reading all these books. But again, I want it to be to that point where it's at that, so that the next game in the series, which is North Africa, is already set to trickle down. So we have that coming out soon. We have very close to being done in our Birth of America series, and our Vikings, Birth of Europe, the Punic Wars. Phenomenal game. The Punic Wars is, the map is not fully done yet, but I can show you everything's done otherwise. Here we go. The Punic Wars is like our Vikings, very, very unique, and it's the Romans against the Hannibal, of course, the Second Punic Wars, and it's I mean, we're getting pretty far along. I mean, but this is the Punic Wars. Boom, boom.
Oh, wow. There it is.
And then we have same in Birth of America again, Vietnam, phenomenal. Most Vietnam games is all about the war. This Birth of America game is going to be about the winning and losing. What makes people is public opinion in America. So as you're losing American GIs and everything, you're going up the track in public opinion against public opinion. Then the events you're playing and everything could bring this down from the top. And as soon as they meet, America has to start withdrawing forces every turn. So you're not getting like in all the Birth of America, you're getting your reinforcements no, that happens. Boom. You're not getting a new and you have to start pulling out. Well, then the South Vietnamese are like in a panic. The North Vietnamese, what we've done with the Viet Cong and everything. Again, people have played the old games, literally 30 seconds of explaining them, the change, difference, and they got it. But they're so profound in game effects. And this is one of these Vietnam games again, that I love all the Vietnam. I love these games, playing it, but to get the masses to play.
Yeah.
But this is very simple, but people are playing, are learning about it with all the events and things that are happening. Now, even more so, because as public opinion starts coming down, and then all of a sudden 1969, Walter Cronkite does his talk, and boom, that can just drop it another one. Right. And so how can you change that Walter Cronkite doesn't do that as an American player? It gives, again, a simple game, all these decisions. So Birth of America, we have Vietnam coming out soon. We have the Punic Wars. We are making very, very good on a Civil War version. That's been in play now for about 2 years, and we've been continually refining it to make the Civil War fun and more the decisions that the generals had to make in general, instead of, just throw battles against each other. In Birth of America, I'm almost done with France 1940 and also First Men In. That's coming along very well. We got 2 more French, one active and one retired colonels, same as colonels here in America, who are now finalizing with me and Pavlos the missions, so that we keep. It's difficult for a German to give a French flavor for the French side in the description and everything. I need a Frenchman to write that, because I'm matter of fact tick 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 tick, whereas French made matter of fact tick it a little different, and we want to keep that feel going.
It's ironic that the French and the Germans might have a different perspective on the events of 1940.
You know what? Not really the military. The military, the French in World War II, their problem was the politics. Yeah. They were very constrained, and also they were old school still. It was a very rigid hierarchy, where German command was much more fluid and giving a lot more decision making to up front. And that's one of the problems Russia's having in Ukraine. They are a logistics push, where America, we're a logistics pull. I need this. I'm determining what's being sent, not some jerks in headquarters saying, oh, we're going to use all our trucks to send missiles, and we're not sending the food and gas.
Right.
So France 1940s come out, and people go, is Conflict of Heroes dead? And I'll know. We're just making so much advancements. And then also what we're doing with different type of areas of the DoD is taking a lot of my time up. And the games that we're developing there, which will not be for the public, but will trickle down in different ways, like our leadership development, the Marine Corps, and we talked about this a while ago, but we've been with the war in Ukraine, it's kind of thrown us off. But the Mastering Tactics system that the U.S. Marine Corps Association was putting out for leadership training through the Marine Corps Gazette and everything, and in their Warfare Development Department, been using over the last 15 years. Well, we worked with them. We got I don't know what their legal area is, all signed, and we're working on some very good games that'll teach officers critical thinking in combat situations. Currently, people don't realize how good we are in America, and why the world our adversaries are always scared of us. Luckily, we're a benevolent society. We're very inclusive, but we also have a footprint everywhere. We have a footprint everywhere. So in these games, we're trying to bring another perspective into an officer, saying, oh, can you believe Russia invaded the Ukraine? That's bullshit. Look at it from a Russian's perspective, saying, after the Cold War, we were promised that we would have that buffer zone, and it didn't happen. Would China ever agree to North Korea and South Korea being unified? No, because that's that buffer between the border of America's in South. And so if we can get them to see the other side and play the other side, then they will know more of the disposition of the other side, and then make decisions that will benefit me. And how do I work with this, or do my my moves, my disposition of troops, how I react based on the psychology I understand more. Because a lot of officers, the Chinese and all, they eat us up. They take classes on how we think. How are we trained? Do we do that? How the Chinese? No. What for? We're just going to do this and roll. Really? So we're trying to bring more critical combat thinking and put people from we were working with Russian officers on the Mujahideen, very good book, Bear Went Over the Mountain. And we're using that with them to do a whole series of games on how the Mujahideen and then Taliban combat has changed over time, and how do we go against that? How can we fight that successfully? But now with the war, everybody's disappeared,
Right.
But when we were doing the play testing, we're pretty far along with our Afghanistan training games. It's very difficult for officers to play the Taliban even in a board game, trying to go against American forces or British forces or whatever.
Sure.
Very difficult.
Sure.
And again, we as a company have to be very careful with this. So we're doing our first game with the British paratrooper units in Afghanistan that did some incredible heroic things also. But I, as an American here, American citizen also, card-carrying members either way, it can be very traumatic. So the first game we're going to do, again, from a business decision standpoint to the public, is we're safer doing the same missions with British Special Force paratrooper units versus average Marine Corps Army type of assets.
Right.
And again, that's a decision you have to make.
It's look, we could make another podcast out of the effects of playing these different sides, right? Because it's very much an issue in the hobby, and it's interesting to see you encounter that with professional military, right? It's a very astute and interesting observation. Uwe, that's probably a great place for us to stop for now. Plenty more to talk about, but man, what a whirlwind, a virtual tornado, right, to tie us back to the early Ohio commentary. But I appreciate you spending the time with me, and always great talking to you. And again, I can't wait to see Vietnam, Punic Wars, and Civil Wars and the Birth of America series.
And Harold, I really appreciate what you do also, all the little things. You should do a podcast. I should interview you sometime and have you do 90% of the talking, because you do so many cool things for our hobby, But let me ask you this, Harold, what's the next event that you'll be running, or what are you working on right now, which is really key that many of your listeners may not even know?
Well, you're very kind to ask that, Uwe, and I'll answer it for certain. But one of the reasons that people like my podcast is because I don't talk very much. So I think that's we've got, so San Diego Historical Games Convention comes up in November in San Diego. And it's going to be great fun. I know you can't make it this year, as we've discussed, but we will look forward to you coming to San Diego at some point in November in the future.
Definitely.
We also have our Conflicts of Interest e-zine, right? Our online magazine. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to send you a link, but it's it's a great place for the San Diego historical gamers to spend time and talk about the things we like to talk about. So first
no,
issue,
it's not only for San Diego, it's worldwide. People can discuss, right?
It's worldwide, and our branding San Diego, because that's what we've, that's kind of what we've been. But now the group is, we've probably have 20 people that work actively in the San Diego HistCon stuff. And the third thing we're working on is online. We're working on considering and setting up our next online convention, which you've mentioned as well and participated in. So that will probably take place in early 2023. But just lots of stuff going on, and very kind of you to mention it. So thanks for bringing that up.
And you might want to mention also San Diego is a country somewhere near the Pacific, right?
Yes, just across the Mexican border, as a matter of fact. And we love it. We love it here in Mexico. So it's great. Come visit us sometime.
Podemos hablar español.
Gracias. Yeah. Uwe, great talking to you. And let's stay in touch. Look forward to doing this again.
Thanks. And now I'm going to have to go and settle down because you get me so pumped up. My adrenaline's going. So I'm going to have to take the dog and do one of these stupid ass runs, which why do you even do that?
Yeah, no, don't run. We've established that. All right. Take care.
See ya. Thank you.